Hello everyone and welcome to today's reading assembly. I'd like to share a story with you today called The Elves in the Shelves, and it comes from that book that I mentioned in my assembly for yesterday called A Necklace of Raindrops. I wonder if you can work out why I've chosen this story for today. I hope you enjoy it. The Elves in the Shelves. There was a little girl called Janet, and it was her birthday. She was very lucky and had lots of presents. A little red bicycle, a pair of roller skates, and a skipping rope, and a big pile of books. But just the same, Janet was not very happy. Why? Because her mum was away, and her dad, who was a train driver, had to go off and drive his train. And so Janet would be all alone that night. Her dad gave her a very nice supper, bread and butter and brown sugar and a drink of creamy milk. Then he tucked her up in bed and said, "Shut your eyes and go to sleep, and in no time it will be tomorrow and I shall be home for breakfast." And off he went to drive his train. Janet shut her eyes, but then she opened them again. She didn't like being alone. "Oh," sighed Janet, "I wish I had someone to talk to." Then she heard a strange noise. What could it be? Pitter patter, tip tap, scuffle scuffle, rattle rattle, pitter patter. Janet listened. The noise came from the next room. There it was again. Pitter patter, tip tap, scuffle scuffle, rattle rattle, pitter patter. Janet jumped out of bed and tiptoed to the next room. What do you think she saw? All her new books were opening, and all the creatures in them were coming out. There was a book about elves, and all the elves were running out of the book and playing leapfrog and climbing up into the china closet. There was a book about mermaids, and all the mermaids were swimming out and diving into the bath. There was a book about penguins, and all the penguins were waddling out and climbing up into the icebox. There was a book about seals, and all the seals were flopping out and pulling each other up into the sink. So when Janet looked, she saw elves in the shelves, mermaids in the bathtub, penguins in the icebox, rabbits in the coal bin, peacocks on the table, and seals in the sink. Wasn't that a funny sight? Enough to make you blink. "Who are all of you?" said Janet, "and what are you doing here?" "We've come to play with you, so you won't be all alone." Janet had never had so many playmates before. Who should she play with first? The elves in the shelves? They were playing football with a marble. Or the mermaids in the bathtub? They were floating on Janet's sponge for a raft. Or the penguins in the icebox? They were sliding on a slippery bit of ice. Or the rabbits in the coal bin? They were playing hunt the thimble. Or the peacocks on the table? They were playing patience. Or the seals in the sink? They were playing splash. First Janet played with the elves, then the mermaids, then the penguins, then the rabbits, then the peacocks, and then the seals. And then she heard a voice behind her. It said, "Nobody wants to play with me." Janet looked round, and there stood a tiger in front of the fire. He had come out of the very bottom book of all. He was big, and he had long, long whiskers and a long, long tail, and he had black and yellow stripes all over. "Tickle my tail," he said, "and I'll chase you." "We don't like being chased," cried the elves. "You're too rough." But he chased the elves along the shelves. "We don't like being chased," cried the mermaids. But the tiger chased them out of the bathtub. "We don't want to be chased," cried the penguins. But tiger chased them out of the icebox. "We don't want to be chased," squeaked the rabbits. But tiger chased them out of the coal bin. "We don't want to be chased," barked the seals, but Tiger chased them out of the sink. "We don't want to be chased," screamed the peacocks, but Tiger chased them off the table. Everyone was cross, and some of the elves were crying. "Tiger," said Janet, "you're too rough. You must play more gently." "Tell him to get back into his book," everyone cried. So Janet picked up the book and said, "Bad Tiger, go back inside." But the tiger looked sad. "I only wanted to run," he said, "for I can run faster than the wind, faster than the weather, faster than the fastest clouds that cross the sky together." "Please," Tiger said to Janet, "can I go for a run outside? After that I will be quiet and good and not chase the others." "I had better come too," Janet said, "to keep an eye on you." "Then jump on my back and tickle my tail." So Janet jumped on his back and tickled his tail, and he ran out of the door and down the stairs and along the street and across the park, fast, faster, fastest of all. And as he ran, he sang, "I can run faster than the wind, faster than the weather, faster than the fastest clouds that cross the sky together." Then they met a man with a glass foot. He cried, "Oh, please, my hat has blown off. Can you catch it for me? For if I run, I might break my glass foot." "Pah!" said Tiger, "I can easily catch your hat." And he went chasing across the park, and they caught the hat and gave it back to the man with the glass foot. He was very grateful. Then they saw a woman who called, "Please can you help me? I belong in tomorrow, but I got left behind. Can you catch up with tomorrow for me?" "Easy," said Tiger, "for I can run faster than the wind, faster than the weather, faster than the fastest clouds that cross the sky together." "Jump on my back behind Janet and tickle my tail." So the woman jumped on his back and she tickled his tail, and he went chasing over the country and easily caught up with tomorrow and put the woman back where she belonged. "Thank you," she called. "I'll send you a postcard from tomorrow." Then they saw a boy who called, "Help! A panda-conda from the circus is chasing me because I pulled its whiskers. Save me!" "Easy," said Tiger. "Jump on my back and tickle my tail." So they tickled his tail and away he went, fast, faster, fastest of all. At first the panda-conda came whistling after, but soon it gave up and went back to sleep in its hole under the merry-go-round. "Thank you for saving me," said the boy, and he jumped off as they passed by his home. Then Janet said, "Goodness! There's the train that my dad comes home on. Quick, quick, or he'll be home first and wonder where I am." "Easy," said Tiger. "I can beat a train any day, for I can run faster than the wind, faster than the weather, faster than the fastest clouds that cross the sky together. Only tickle my tail." So Janet tickled his tail and they went racing back over the country and over the town, over houses and churches and mountains and rivers, across the park and along the street and in at Janet's window. "Quick!" she cried. "You must all get into your books. My dad's coming home." For there were elves in the shelves, mermaids in the bathtub, penguins in the icebox, rabbits in the coal bin, peacocks on the table and seals in the sink. "I'll play with you all again tomorrow night, I promise," said Janet. She pushed them all into their books, and the tiger was the hardest to push because he was so big, and then she ran next door and jumped into bed and shut her eyes tight. The next thing she was asleep. And then the next thing she knew she was awake again, and there was her dad making her breakfast. After breakfast, Janet went and looked at her books, but they were quite quiet and still. If it hadn't been for a small, just the smallest footprint on a shelf, a little tiny gold scale in the bathtub, and just the tiniest feather in the icebox, and one tiger's whisker on the rug, you would never have guessed that there had been elves in the shelves, mermaids in the bathtub, penguins in the icebox, rabbits in the coal bin, peacocks on the table, and seals in the sink, and a big stripy tiger sitting in front of the fire. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to that story, and I wonder if you have worked out why I chose this story for today. One of the reasons was because I loved the fact that the tiger loves to run, and I know lots of you know that I enjoy running too, although I don't think that I'm as fast as the clouds or the fastest weather. But the other reason that I chose this book today was because I loved the idea of the characters in the books all coming to life. And with it being World Book Day on Thursday this week, I just loved that idea that all of the books that we read could have characters that secretly come to life from them. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Goodbye.